Hello?
How you doing, Merel?
I'm doing great.
You ready to go?
Yeah, actually.
All right, let's do it.
However you would like to do this would be great.
Yeah, this is just set one. I mean, we're going to be everywhere, so we're not going to try to get through everything in one set. Don't worry about it.
Cool.
All right.
Well, I'll let you lead.
Folks, welcome inside the Parisi Palace, high above 3773 East Broadway. This is a live edition of the Jake Feinberg Show. Coming on Power Talk, please go to our website, powertalk.live. Download our free app to your smartphone and stream all of our live local programming, including Solomon on Blast, the Jim Parisi Show, and yours truly, the Jake Feinberg Show. Can't thank you enough for making us part of your day today. Thank you to Ted Goldfinger and the Desert Heart Foundation for their support. I had a chance to interview the iconic singer and producer Jim Messina yesterday, and along the way, as we were traversing his musical career, one name kept popping up, and it was his drummer, a cat that has been cooking the groove and playing in all different styles of music. It's all music, really, and still today working his butt off and playing his butt off. Merel Bregante, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Hi, Jake. How you doing, man?
That's great to hear you.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's great to hear you.
I just want to start with an audio clip. We have a game on this program called Name That Voice. I don't expect you to know the name of the voice, but I do want you to pay attention to the content, and then we'll come back and break it down, okay?
Cool.
Well, I ended up, going into rehab, and I had to, move out of New York. And, I had been playing, under the influence for so long that I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but, because of when I finally did get, go back and play, I have good friends in the business, and being able to go back to music, straight, and still and love playing and be in the same situations with people and not use anymore. It was good, and it was great to have that. I could have lost it all, and I didn't. And so, being able to come back to music, looking back on it, helped save my life.
Maybe who. Do you have any idea who that is?
It could be 100 people.
It could. That was.
It could be 1,000 people. That's my story.
Well, that was Steve Gadd from my radio interview with him from August of 2014.
He's God.
And setting aside the ability to play, that was a turning point in my professional broadcasting career because, he was very open. The question I asked him that I didn't play for you was, could you talk about a time that you faced adversity in your life and how music was a help or a hindrance to you? And he went there with me. He went to the dark side. I've talked to enough cats who worked with him on sessions that he was out of his mind, and he was still able to play his ass off, but he almost lost everything. So I just wanted to start by asking you, it doesn't have to be substance abuse, but was there a time in your career when you faced adversity, and could you talk about it and how you overcame it and how it made you a stronger person and player?
Well, yeah. First of all, as I said, that's my story. I'm sitting in my control room right now, and my beautiful wife decided she wanted to decorate. And so part of what she's used to decorate my control room are a bunch of gold and platinum records, and I said that with true humility.
Sure.
Nonetheless, that's some of the stuff that's hanging on the walls. And when I look at these records and I hearken back to that time, there's truly not one note played on any of them that I was straight. And I've been straight now for 33 years. So in terms of adversity, yeah. I mean, I was a junkie. I got straight. I lost a marriage because of that. For many years, I lost a child because of that. I lost a beautiful home in the mountains of Colorado because of that. I lost my ability to have confidence in myself. And I understand exactly what Steve is talking about in that when I got straight, I didn't go through rehab. I'm just a hard-headed Italian.
Wow.
When I decided,
you went cold turkey?
When I had to get, totally.
Wow.
And it took me 4 years before I was able to go out again and really join the ranks. I moved to Phoenix. The metaphor is not lost on me, and I played in just a cool, funny little country band that did nothing but copy songs in bars and like that in Phoenix, and did that. And I was offered some good gigs, and I passed on all of them because there was not a chance in hell that I was going to go out and do that, simply because I had no confidence in myself, because I hadn't played without being stoned for so many years that I didn't know how to play straight. And I really sort of had to relearn the drums. And thankfully, like 4 years later, my old friend, a bandmate from the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, when I played in that band, John McEwen, called me and asked me if I would come and do a month with him in New York and actually in Atlantic City and then New York. And I soul searched big time, and I finally said yes. And I went, and through that, it was a great catharsis for me, because all of a sudden I was playing with really great players, and I realized that I could keep up. Okay, I'm sitting here thinking, I can do this now. I can do this. And then we went to New York and played at a club there that's no longer there. And when we were done, the stage manager came up to me and he shook my hand and he said, "Man, you're just great, and I really want to thank you for all the music you've done." And it made me cry. And that was when I realized that I could once again do this thing. The other time, when we spoke earlier, was when Loggins Messina played in Boston in the Commons, and by that time, we were pretty damn popular. And so, Boston Commons, but we're opening for some band. Who wants to open for us? Shit, we'll put 40,000 people in the Commons ourselves.
Right.
And just kill for 2.5, 3 hours. And so we went to do the thing, and we opened, and I mean there were tens of thousands of people, and we played, and we got the reaction we always got, which was pretty astounding. And then I went back, soaked, and I changed clothes and went back out to Monitor World, and I'm just standing there waiting for this band to come out, and this guy walks out, and I mean there's a fiddle player, and there's a bass player, and a drummer, and a keyboard player, and a guitar player, and they all look sort of old, and they all look sort of ragged. And then they started playing. And 8 bars of the first song, and I was ready to quit because it was the original Mahavishnu.
What? Oh, do we have a year on this? By the way, this is fascinating.
70s, 73 maybe. Somewhere in there.
It was with Billy and John and Rick Laird and Jan. Yeah.
The original Mahavishnu. And I stood there and watched Billy Cobham play. And I realized that at that point in time, I was nothing but a poser, because that man flipped me out. And I'd seen some great drummers, but nothing like what he showed me that day. And so we toured, and when I got back home to L.A., one of my very dearest friends, a man that I will consider to my dying day an angel that had come to earth, and that was Milt Holland.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, and I would argue this, I think successfully, the best percussionist in the history of the world. And I would elaborate on that happily.
No, I want to. By the way, I'm not gonna. But he also was a trap drummer too, right? I mean, back in the day, he was no. Go ahead.
In the beginning, he was playing. He was playing in speakeasies in Chicago in the 20s.
No, I love it. I mean, that's in the 20s or the 30s.
30s maybe, because Milt was. I mean, in Loggins Messina, I was in my mid-20s, and he was already 60.
I don't want to lose this trait. So you came back humbled, and then Milt was. I want to be clear. This is an angel.
So Milt was my. I studied hand drums with Milt Holland.
I love
Astounding.
it. Oh, I love
he
this.
took me in. And I went to Milt because I was ready to quit. And he told me this story, and I will share it, and drummers will understand. You'll understand, you're a drummer.
Yeah.
He said, Merle, I told him, and he said, he laughed. He said, yeah, Billy's pretty amazing, huh? And I said, yeah, I'm ready to quit, Milt. And he said, remember one thing, you'll never be Billy Cobham. And I said, I'm okay with that. He said, I want you to do this for me. He said, I want you to make friends with all the things you can't do. And then he said, and Billy Cobham will never be you. And that was it.
I love it.
My beautiful,
I got a couple.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I just want to. This is blowing my mind. Was it? Because you couldn't have two musics farther away from each other. It's all music, by the way. I'm from the Duke Ellington School, but you could not have two musics farther away from each other than Loggins Messina and Mahavishnu Orchestra. So was it the fact that you? I mean, why that to me? I just go back to the drug part of it. Billy never did a drug in his life, okay, and he had out of body experiences. I've talked to him about it. He could see himself on the side of the stage when he was physically exhausted. After these burning Mahavishnu tours. So he's a transcendent player, but you were playing transcendent dance music. So was it the fact also that you were also like not sober? I mean, I don't understand why you would be that. I guess, I mean, as a drummer, it would be quite amazing to see that display. But why did you take it so?
Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I live in the country, so
my question is just why did you take it so much to heart? Because you're playing your ass off with a dance band.
You know, I've never had a drum lesson in my life.
Right.
And I've always wondered about that. If I had to save my life today by playing a double stroke roll, I'd be dead.
I love it, dude. You're a street scholar. Yeah, it's fine.
I don't know how to do that. I took it so seriously because I realized, well, like I said, at the time, I'm a street-taught drummer.
Right.
Simple, but I called myself a drummer. I started playing music when I was 4. I've been a musician all my life. I started playing drums as a sophomore in college. And I saw that man play. And I realized that there was such a world of technical ability that I would never, ever come close to.
Right.
And there was a time, when I really thought, you're nothing but a damn poser. Stop. Do something else. You have a modicum of intelligence. You can find another thing to do. Do it. And Milt saved that for me, truly.
He said Billy Cobham. He said Billy Cobham will never be Merle Bregante.
That's right.
I love it.
He said, I'll never be Billy, He said, make friends with the things you can't do, which was the big one. And I would share that with anyone listening to this. Make friends with the things you can't do. It's okay. It's okay. And then he said, and Billy Cobham will never be Merle Bregante. And I said, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, you know, it was like that. It was an astounding time with Milt for sure. The whole deal. And
yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
No, this is so fantastic. I mean, like, so many of the cats from your generation were self-taught, and there weren't these, one reason the vocabulary of music, I'm just going to ask you this straight out. One of the reasons the vocabulary of music was growing so much at that time, that early 70s pocket, was because of all the individual players. I mean, you have your own sound. Billy has his own sound. Everybody, I mean, if David Garibaldi told me if somebody walked up to him after a gig and said, man, you sounded great, you sounded just like blah, 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 he'd want to slit his wrists. So there was this thing where it was like individuality was key. And the rhythm sections, as Stanley Clark told me, are the drivers of new vocabulary. So I'm asking Bregante, even though you are a complete street scholar, you realize today that the cats are coming out of the academia. Do you believe that musical vocabulary can grow within academia, or is it only something that you can do relentlessly on the bandstand?
It depends on the teacher. I mean, if you are being given nothing but academics, then I think at the end of the day, you still have to get on the stage and learn or experience. Let it become experiential. An example, very dear friend of mine, maybe some of the listeners out there know there's a band in Austin for many years now by the name of Reckless Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
And I produced their first 3 records. They are like my young brothers. I love them all. And their guitar player is a fella by the name of David Abeda, astounding player. 4-year grad, summa cum laude from Berkeley, Boston. A badass. And he came out of Berkeley with this, bursting with knowledge, technical knowledge as a player. He came back to Austin, and the first thing he did was find a gig with the trashiest garage band he could find.
Right.
And when we talked about that, I said, so David, why'd you do that? And he said, I had to remember how to play the guitar. And that's my point. It's about the teacher. For him, the teacher was walking on stage on 6th Street with 5 other bands a night making $17 and learning how to play his guitar again. Because for 4 years, he'd studied his guitar. It's a different thing. Academia is wonderful. I mean, you see so many players of academia that are just monstrously great. And you see a whole bunch of cats that have never seen the inside of a music school that are monstrously great. The difference, I think, if I may, is I'm old enough that I remember the first time I heard rock and roll. And I was like a 10-year-old kid, and I was driving home from a Little League baseball game with my dad and my coach. And the coach turned on the radio, and I heard this thing that I was like, oh my God, what is that? And it was Bill Haley and the Comets singing Rock Around the Clock. And I'm like, God almighty, what is that shit? I need to know. And so there was that. And that morphed through all of the doo-wop stuff, the Philadelphia street corner people, the Brooklyn, New York, that whole scene that I loved so much because I'm so much into harmony. I'm a harmony singer. Humbly, I do it really well. And I just loved that thing. And that morphed into the 60s in L.A. and the surf music thing, which I was there, but by that time I'd turned on to R&B. So I was listening to Carla Thomas, and my friends would come up and say, have you heard the new Dick Dale song? And I'd say, no, not really. But have you heard Carla's new? And because I by that time I was listening to Stax a lot.
Absolutely.
And I was listening to Al Jackson Jr.,
Oh,
which
yeah.
was foundation. That's how I play. And so.
Well, no, I just
there was this
like this is really important.
This is important.
No, I mean because what I gather sometimes, we just lost an incredible drummer. I had a chance to interview him a couple times on the radio and once on Facebook Live. Was Ndugu Chancellor, heavy studio cat.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And
Amazing.
Amazing drummer. And Denny Sywell, a dear friend of the program, he told me a story where they're at like a drum clinic, and there's a young cat who gets up, and he's playing. I mean, just the facility is off the wall. The technique is off the wall. I mean, 20 minutes. He stops after 20 minutes of just not repeating anything, wipes his brow, goes for another 10 minutes. At a certain point, Sywell looks over at Ndugu. He's passed out. And you know why? Because there's no feel. You can't feel the music. I find myself going to these, especially like even Mahavishnu, going back, the feel was so good. It was frenetic, but it felt good. And today, that feeling comes from bandstand, relentless touring, and that circuit doesn't exist the way it used to. So how are cats supposed to get comfortable with their own sound if they don't have a place to get comfortable? Because like you said, you have to get up at some point and sing for your supper. I mean, you can be a wonk in academia, but that music is sterile.
You gotta play.
Right.
You gotta play. You have to play. People ask me about what Loggins Messina did for me.
Right.
And I tell many things, but one of the most important things, it gets me closer to the front of the line for the next audition. And at some point in time, because of my resume, I get a chance to play. But at the end of the day, and you might have to bleep this, at the end of the day, you fucking got to sit down behind a set of drums and play.
Hey, just for the record, Power Talk is extraterrestrial streaming radio, so we're not under any FCC guidelines. You can curse away all you want.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And I will try to maintain, but that's a really seriously important one for me. No matter what you've done, no matter who you are, no matter where you've been, I don't care. The next gig, you got to sit down and you got to play. You got to play. All the bullshit is done then. Tear up the resume and throw it away.
Exactly. No, I love it. But would you also say to cats out there that back in the pre-Sunshine Company days, or even during the Sunshine Company, that you would play for free just to play?
Oh hell yeah! Dig. I in Los Angeles. I'm married now for many years to an incredibly beautiful woman, physically, spiritually, that is also an astounding singer-songwriter. Her name is Sarah Pearson, and she flips me out daily.
Well, she might have to come on the Jake Feinberg show as well.
There was a wife before her, and during the Loggins Messina days, and she gave me a beautiful daughter, who now she's given me 2 beautiful grandchildren, and it's all great. I would be on tour with Loggins Messina. I would be on tour for some of the tours were long, 2 months,
sure,
3 months. We'd be out. I would come home, and and she would pick me up at the LAX, and we would go home, and we would be together, and it would be nice. And probably 3-4 hours home, and I'd be on the phone finding out where the jam session was.
Unbelievable.
First day home.
Okay, but
I had to play. That was what I did, and it's still what I do. I guess the fundamental thing that we sort of lost touch with a little bit, and I would get back to quickly, and that is my generation. We had really nothing to emulate. We had that kind of thing, and they're just swingy kind of things, and the rockabilly things. Kids today have 55, 60 years of stuff to learn from and emulate. And I see videos of 12-year-old Japanese girls that are astounding drummers, fusion drummers.
Right.
With double kick playing the shit. And I'm like, yes, I love it. As a stage manager, which I do, I've stage managed festivals, which is another thing that Messina taught me that I will share with you. Every once in a while, I'll see a young band, I have the honor, the deep honor of stage managing twice an incredibly beautiful man who had young children playing with him, and they read music, and they were just amazing. Hardcore jazz. 12-year-old bass player, 13-year-old drummer, 17-year-old keyboard player, 16-year-old saxophonist, and they were astounding.
They were burning.
They were reading and burning and making it feel great.
That's what I want to make sure that it was burning. Burning is good. It means you're burning. Your brain is so it felt good.
No, they understand, and they were burning.
Right.
And I would walk up to the microphone after they were done, and I would say, "Ladies and gentlemen, what we have just seen is proof that music is alive and will continue."
Mm-hmm.
That because sometimes I wonder.
I know.
I mean, because I record people. I have a studio. Young people come in. Older producers come in. They want me to quantize and truncate and intonate, and I do, because I'm the engineer and they're paying me, and I do that. However, as a producer, I do none of it. And I expect people to play. And if kids are not technically great, but they're giving me the shit,
yep,
then I love them. And I nurture them as best I can. And when it's all done, I hand them a mixed album, and hopefully they'll go master it someplace. And I am so proud of them because they're going for it. I remember what it felt like when I was 20 years old and I was in a band after the Sunshine Company. I guess I was 23. After the Sunshine Company with Larry Sims, who was the bass player in the Sunshine Company before Loggins and Messina, and Maury Manceau, guitar player in the Sunshine Company before Loggins and Messina, and a beautiful, beautiful guitar player named Tippy Armstrong from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. That boy could play. Played a 335. He was like genius. And the keyboard player was Greg Allman. Greg played keys.
In the company or in another band?
No, this was we were managed by Bill McEwen, William E. McEwen, and the Sunshine Company was managed by McEwen, and the Hourglass, which was...
I've interviewed Paul Hornsby several times. Yeah, Paul Hornsby. Yeah, I've interviewed him seveel times. It's unbelievable.
That band, before they Greg and Dwayne were the only two from the Hourglass, but they were astounding. That band broke up. The Sunshine Company broke up. Dwayne went to Muscle Shoals first, and Greg stuck around, and we put a band together.
Wow. What was the name of the band?
It was never even named. and they were Liberty Act. We were Liberty Act. Liberty gave us Liberty Studios, I think, on 3rd Street and La Cienega, something like that. And we would go in the evening late with this young cat that engineered. And, I mean, we cut seminal versions of Southbound. We cut seminal versions of Whipping Post. We cut and it was a cool band. It was really cool. And then it just got wind of what we were doing. And the Sunshine Company producer wanted to produce producer's credits because he wasn't anywhere near, and it went like that. And so we finally said, screw this. And Greg went, and about that time Dwayne called Greg, and he split, and I packed my drums and moved on to a horse ranch, and that's where Messina found me. But that's the kind of stuff, you know. I mean, we were children. My point, I remember what it felt like to be in the studio with those people at 3 o'clock in the morning playing, just doing what we did, and having a cat on the other side of the glass sitting there going, yes, yes, not messing with us, capturing us.
Exactly. Knowing their role. Exactly.
He was not recording us, he wasn't producing us, he was capturing us. And then the suits moved in, and we all said, screw this. I remember what that felt like. How can I, in any possible way, screw with young kids that I'm recording now, still being able to remember what it felt like for me to not be screwed with? I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
I let them play. Because they're the ones, they're our future. They're the ones, not the ones that are listening to what is going on right now and trying to emulate. A great man. I've been so blessed in my life with these people that have taken me under their wing. A great man by the name of Steve Popovich. You ever hear his name?
I don't know that name.
Popovich was the head of album promotions for CBS worldwide in the 70s. He went on to become the president of Polygram, and then got really fed up with that whole scene and moved back to Cleveland, where he's from, started his own little record label called Cleveland International Records, went out and he was like contemporary with Clive Davis and Mo Austin, Ahmet Ertegun, the men that went out and fucking found music. They didn't give a shit about bean counters. They didn't give a shit about the bottom line. All they wanted was music that moved them. And Steve was one of them. And he went on, he saw a guy one night that he thought was really cool, and he put his money behind him and he recorded him, and it was Meatloaf's first record.
Wow.
You know, that was the way that whole thing worked. Every time in New York I would go see Popovich, because I used to say to him, I really would love, I think I can be a producer, Steve. Well, I think you could too, Merle. And I would say, but you got to teach me. And he'd say, well, you got to get in the studio and start doing this thing. And he said, but I will give you some advice. Once again, like Milt, words that I live by now. And one of them was, if you have an artist and you believe in them, have them follow their muse no matter what. Even if music is diametrically opposed to what's going on with their music. Totally and completely 180 degrees out of phase. Have them stick to what they do, because it will eventually come around. I promise. Might be 20 years in the future. They're going to have to be maybe really, really patient, but it will come around. It will come around. He said, and if you have an artist that's just emulating what they're hearing, the new thing, that's what they want to do, all you've got is an artist with their nose so far up somebody else's ass that all you see is their heels. And that's, I believe, so true.
Well, what I like about it is that you remember how good it felt and how bad it felt when you had bean counters telling musicians how to play, and how you're not you're implementing what you're making sure as a producer that you are not micromanaging. But that was beautiful. I just wanted to touch on something.
Go.
I wanted to know the Sunshine Company. We're going to listen to a track in a minute, but I also know that in this period of time, there was this psychedelics. LSD was legal for a period of time. Orange Sunshine was very popular amongst guys like Owsley. And I'm wondering, did you play like any of the Trips festivals? Did you play? And I want to know about how. I'm a big believer in, this is just between me and the world and you, is that I just think that microdose, one of the reasons that progress you can call it progress or not, but I just feel like a lot of square cats were getting dosed back in the day, whether they knew it or not. And microdosing, I think, is incredibly vital because it's an ego deflator. Grace Slick, and that's just a different story, but I wanted to know about how psychedelics played a role in spontaneous improvisation and creativity, even if it was a folk or a pop or a rock setting. To me, it was, you can hear it in the music, and your name of that band, I just thought, I'm like, boy, did Owsley take a trip over to the Sunshine? I mean, where did that name come from? And talk about the effect that psychedelics had on you and your generation.
Well, a big one that I really have to. Well, I have to think about what it did for my generation because.
How about just you? You don't have to paint with a broad. Just talk about your own experiences with it. And was there?
I took acid. I was in university when it was legal. I took acid. I took Sandoz. And it was like where it came from. Sandoz Labs, the original lysergic acid.
I'm sorry. What university were you at? Where were you?
UCLA.
And that's where they were making it.
No. Sandoz
in Sweden or something, right?
Well, no, it was in Switzerland.
Switzerland, that's
right. Without going deeply into it, it was discovered that the mold ergot, ERGOT, was a mold on rye bread, and there was a village in France, and people were freaking out and hallucinating and ending up dying, and the only commonality in the entire village was the bakery and the bread, and so from that was discovered LSD, and the Sunshine Company was definitely psychedelic. I mean, we were a 5-piece band, and 4 of us took a lot of LSD.
And you were taking it in a context of also playing live on LSD.
No, only a couple times because that's pretty intense.
I can't even imagine really. But it was just go ahead.
There were some fun stories, but it definitely opened my mind to so many things. I mean, I was the son of an Italian fisherman, Catholic boy, and in my time in the Sunshine Company, because that was all part of college education. The band came together in a junior college, and we played, and there's whole stories about that stuff, but neither here nor there. I did psychedelics, LSD until it really got street nasty.
Yeah. The Sandoz stuff was the most pure stuff.
I graduated to becoming very good friends with Mescalito, and I did that when peyote was available, and I stopped doing psychedelics long before I stopped doing drugs, and I'm glad that I did. I'm so glad that I did. It opened up my mind. I don't know that it changed me. I can't quantify how it changed me musically. By that, I mean, I sure like the Beatles. I know that.
Well, I mean, I just want to be clear, though, like when you were, being that it was, I was talking to the drummer for Big Brother, Dave Getz, and he said that he said that you could go, at least in San Francisco, you go to a place called the League for Internal Freedom and get some Sandoz acid. You have a card, and I mean, at UCLA, was it? I know it was being made in the labs, but were you actually acquiring it at the university there, or I mean, before
it became a controlled substance, it was available for experimentation in like psych departments and stuff, universities all over the country, and people would spirit away some and share it amongst their friends, and it was great. And the first time I took it, I was dosed. I was never going to do it, and I got dosed. I had a fella put LSD in a beer that I drank, and then he laughed at me and he said, "I finally got you," because he'd been trying to get me to take this.
Oh man!
And I had to choose quickly whether or not I was going to wring his neck or
have a good trip. Have a good trip. Yeah.
And at the time, I was playing in a bar band before the Sunshine Company, and thankfully the lead singer of the band also played drums. And so after the first set, he very graciously suggested that I let him play the rest of the night, and I was taken out into the darkness of Los Angeles and allowed to just be a total goon, which was good.
Well, no,
I liked it.
Let me. We're bouncing. We're having a ball here with Merel Bregante. This is so fascinating for me because, I just want you to talk to Kat. How it is so hard. I was up in San Ramon a couple weeks ago watching this drummer Larry Van, old school Oakland drummer, a hero and a badass. And he was singing and playing drums and playing and singing like Howlin' Wolf tunes, and he wasn't playing fusion music, but to play and sing at the same time, to play drums and sing is really hard. To do it well and make it look easy, that's genius. Can you talk about when did that come into your repertoire? Was that in the Sunshine Company? Did that evolve with Loggins? When did you start doing that dual? And how did you learn to get the groove on it? Because it is hard.
It's so weird because I sing a lot. With Sarah, I sing background every song basically, and a couple songs I sing lead. I don't even think I don't think when I play anymore.
Right.
I don't think.
But you haven't been thinking, even when you were under the influence, you probably, I have to believe you were in that zone for a while.
Well, yeah. I haven't thought about playing. The only time I'll screw up is if I think about what I'm going to play next. You know what I mean? You get in the zone and you play, and it's a song, and it's a song. It starts at the beginning, it ends at the end, and if there's a tight arrangement, it goes, and you don't think about it. And so I can sit and play and sing, and they're so totally removed from one another that they really don't step on either. There's no conflict, is what I'm trying to say. And I can't explain it. But it's always been a very easy and natural thing for me. I don't know. Playing, and maybe it's because I really do play simple drums.
Well, no, but it's simple, but it's complex. I guess, was there a period of time, like, had you just, when you got behind the trap set, did you just automatically start singing? When was the mic put there? Was there a point when you really had to woodshed it, or it's just the microphone's always been there?
No, I didn't have to woodshed it. The microphone wasn't always there, but shortly after I started playing, the microphone had to be there because I knew songs, and that meant we had a repertoire. And playing in clubs in L.A. back in the mid-'60s, early 60s, mid-'60s, it was like 5 sets a night, 9 to 2.
Absolutely.
And you had to have
Absolutely.
And you had to have a hell of a lot of songs. And so the bass player knew some, and the guitar player knew some, and I knew some, and so, we'll all three have to go out and buy a microphone and a mic stand. Oh my God! and the next thing, and a Shure Vocal Master system, And the next thing I knew, when it came my turn, I would sing Secret Agent Man or whatever. And it just, maybe because there was no option. Maybe some on a very a subjective level, because there was no option, it was like, okay, I can do this, and I did it, and I have been all my life. Loggins Messina, Sunshine Company, the Dirt Band, blah blah blah. I've always sung.
Did you play with Charles Neville from the Neville Brothers, John Coltrane, Tootie Heath, Sonny Rollins? I've interviewed a few of those cats. Coltrane's left us, obviously. But the thing is that those guys, a lot of cats don't realize this, they were playing raunchy R&B music before they got into before bebop. Okay, so the blues was always in the music, and I'm like, did Bregante get a chance to play with any of the original blues cats, or when you were in SoCal, like, or was there a seminal moment when you were able to really learn the shuffle and play the blues? And I'm talking, if you could talk about that to me, there was so much going on at that time. The music was percolating, but those cats in the 50s that became known as jazzers, those guys were all on the R&B Chitlin circuit. And I'm just curious about your experience with the original blues cats, if you had a chance to mingle with those cats, and how significant they were to the rudiments, because you claim it's a simple style on the drums, but you got to be able to play the blues, man. And a lot of, like you were talking before, there's so much information out there now, and there's just we're just saturated with stuff that I think part of the issue is that younger cats don't have the ability, they don't go back far enough because they're overwhelmed with all the material.
That's right. And this is a whole hour conversation. And just really quickly, and this will make sense to you, and then we can take it a little further.
Yeah,
and that is
go where you want to go.
The last Ray Charles record, right? The one where he did all the duets and like that. And if you have that disc and you put it in your computer, you'll find an embedded video. And in the video is Norman Seeff, the very famous English photographer, interviewing Ray Charles. And one of the questions asked is, Ray, what makes a great vocal great? Which seems like a real inane question to me. And Ray Charles, the camera's on him, and he's sort of grooving, and he's got grist. His hair would turn silver, and he had his dark glasses on. He's got that big smile on his face. He's just sort of vamping behind the piano. And he stops and he says, what makes a great vocal great? He says, it's got to groove. That was his response.
And the groove is from the blues.
It's got to groove. So I didn't have a chance to really hang with those people. I got to see I saw BB play a bunch of times. I saw well, I'm also thinking that, like, maybe on those early,
Jim and I touched on it briefly, but when Bill Graham had the Fillmore, I had to believe that some of those, like those cats from Chicago, you might have shared a bill with one of those cats, like Howlin' Wolf or one of those cats.
I saw Howlin' Wolf. It was amazing. And we never played with them. The Fillmore is a whole other thing.
That'll be a whole segment in itself, but yeah.
No doubt. I didn't get to hang with them. I saw Jimmy Reed play in a little club in L.A. because I wanted to go see Jimmy Reed play. And I heard his mother behind the curtains singing or saying, stage whispering, "You got me running." And Jimmy Reed's so stoned that he couldn't keep his eyes open. So, "You got me running, you got me hiding, you got me hiding." He couldn't remember that, and it was, at the same time, it was astoundingly beautiful. It was incredibly sad. It was totally poignant. It was just this thing that I got to see. So I got to see that. My biggest epiphany in music came from my father.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was from Montana. I'm old enough to remember listening to Louisiana Hayride. I can remember hearing Hank Williams sing. My father on Sundays would make me listen to the Mario Lanza Hour and listen to opera. That's how diverse my shit was in the beginning. The first record they ever bought me was the Paul Whiteman Orchestra playing Gershwin. My father had an 8-year-old education. He was a little Italian fisherman, but they did that shit to me. I'm so thankful. And my dad brought home a radio off the boat, a shortwave radio, and long story which I won't bore you with. But when they would go to sleep, I'd start listening, and I heard all over the world. And one night I tuned in to the station. I could barely hear it. And I heard this guy say, "This is Rod McGrew from KJLH, the land of kindness, joy, love, and happiness." And it was in Watts. At the time, it was Watts. It wasn't South Central.
Mm-hmm.
And Watts was like 13 miles up the road from my hometown, 500-watt station, broadcasting just like, I don't know how many, maybe 2 square miles. And all he played was old R&B. That's how I listened to the Stax stuff, when it was Stax Volt. That's all I listened to. I just went, this is my music. That was the one that made the hair on my arms stand up. It wasn't surf music. I love country music. I love opera. I love music. I love music. I've been playing this shit for 68 of my 72 years. It's sort of too late for me to change. And when I heard rhythm and I differentiate between blues and rhythm and blues.
Absolutely.
And I listened to early rhythm and blues, and that's what I listened to, and that's what I took with me when I sat down behind a set of drums for the first time, because that's what I knew. That was my groove. And not that long ago, in 2003, I believe. I love Jimmy Messina, by the way. He's a dear friend, and
he's a brilliant freaking dude. He's a great cat and a brilliant cat.
He's a brilliant cat, and he's given me so much that I've carried with me into my life.
He's a giver. Yeah, he's a giver.
He's a real giver, and so, and I think 2003 he put the original band back together minus one of the principals, and I'm actually staring at my chart book here. It says Merel Bregante drums, Jim Messina, and the sitting in band, and it was the original band, and we got together in L.A. and rehearsed and did a couple shows, and it was absolutely wonderful. And one of the rehearsals, the first rehearsal, and Jimmy's a rehearsal freak. I mean, like no one you can't imagine.
Well, no, I've been told. I mean, it's something I don't want to go near because I actually have a very hard time with the R word, but I know he's a freak about that stuff.
The first album we started rehearsing in fucking February of 1971, and we rehearsed at least 5 days a week. Every week we recorded in November, you tell me.
Well, I mean, to all your credit, the music doesn't sound worn out. It's got great soul and feel, so I don't know how you did that. How you didn't stretch all... It's amazing.
I can explain that. Oh, no, I can explain it easily, and I can tell you why it feels the way it does. But first, 2003, and there we are, we're in rehearsal, and so Jimmy calls, "Your Mama Don't Dance." And he starts that groove, and I start playing. But this is from 1972 when we recorded that song. It's on 2003. I've played a lot of shuffles in that stretch of time. And I've learned a bunch of different... There's so many shuffle types. If you live in Texas, you'd better be able to play a Ray Price shuffle. And if you don't know what it is, you better learn.
Oh, dude, there are like 6 shuffles out of Texas. I mean, the stupid shuffle, Tony Brown.
Many shuffles. Well, so we started playing. Middle of the song, Jimmy stops the band, and he turns around and he said, "What are you doing?" And I'm thinking to myself, "Messina, what the fuck?" This is Your Mama Don't Dance. I'm just playing a damn song. Jesus Christ, it's the easiest song we play. And he said, "It has never felt that good."
He was digging it.
I was playing a shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't playing quarter notes on the hi-hat and
right.
Actually like sort of a little dotted thing on the bass drum and 2 and 4. I wasn't doing that thing that I played when we recorded it. I was playing a shuffle. I was shuffling, and he loved it. And that's that deal when you. That's part of what you're talking about, being on stage and doing it night after night for years. You get better, even if you don't want to. You got no choice. It all makes sense. So,
well, this is, you're blowing my, first of all, what I love is just, you're totally, you're making it sound, again, when something is natural to someone, it doesn't seem that complicated, and it's very hard to put into words. I just sent you a hand wave on Facebook. I'm going to friend you later. Many of the stories that come out of this interview, I will transcribe and blast out on new media. So we have to become friends on Facebook, because that's where my reach is, and ultimately it's going to. But I want to, one of the stories I transcribed from yesterday's interview with Messina. I want to read this to you, and then you can riff on it any way you want. By the way, you don't need to worry about. There are no right or wrong answers, and wherever my questions or thoughts lead you, that's just where you go. Okay?
There's no right or wrong in music.
No, there's no wrong notes in music. There's no.
There's no right or wrong.
That's what Miles said.
You know, you play a bad note. If you play a bad note in a song, the old joke.
Right.
When it comes around, play that note again.
Exactly.
Because it's no longer wrong. Now it's an arrangement. Cool.
Well, and in a really good band with a lot of trust, when somebody plays something wrong, everybody else goes with it too. If it feels good.
You don't. Read me this thing and then I'll read.
Yeah, no, I just want you. I want, because we're cooking here. This is just set one, but I want you to just. This is something I want you to. This is really important because. I'll just read it to you. And he was
good.
Messina. This is from Messina from yesterday. He said, Milt Holland was in his 60s when we met him. We were all in our 20s. Milt, was traveling all over the world. He was an ethnomusicologist. And I'd bring a song together, and he'd throw a feel on it. I'd go, yeah, I like that. I'd put that feel that Milt was creating on a shaker. I'd put it in the headphones of Merel Bregante. So Merle had this time there that he could play to. Instead of trying to hold on to it, he could play to it. Milt was sitting in the room like a cat on the mantle looking at all of us. He was really my mentor into the more sophisticated Latin grooves. This is what I want you to talk about, though, because you're a drummer, and I love talking to drummers about this. He goes, I said to him once, Milt, I'm having such a hard time with time. I don't know sometimes if I'm rushing. He said, Jimmy, you've got to look at time kind of like you're driving a car. I said, what do you mean? He said, imagine the steering wheel was sitting out there on the front bumper. You were driving a car and you're looking down at the double line. You're driving along. Do you think you could stay on the road easier if you were up front where you could really see the road? Or if the steering wheel was really back in the trunk actually looking over the car? Jim said, well, I would think sitting right up front where I could really see it. He goes, that's fine until there's a curve. If you don't see the curve coming, you'll fall off the road. He said, if you're standing on the back of the car and you're looking down the road and you can see it's going to turn, you know you're going to be going to the left and you're not going to go off the road. He said, and this is where I want you to comment. He goes, you've got to look at time that way. Time is coming at you. You're not moving with it. It's coming at you. Let it come to you. Don't try to go after it. After he said that to me, I suddenly got a whole new perspective because it's a lot easier. He was talking about Latin specifically. But I want you to talk about time because the music I love, quite honestly, the music has a tendency to go off into abstractions, and then everybody ultimately comes back on the one. I want you to talk about the concept of because Jamerson used to get pissed off at people. Bernie Ledden's brother Tom had a band with James, and he told me one time they were in the studio and some cat's like, it was hemming and hawing. He's like, where's the one? Where's the one? And Jamerson looked at me and he goes, any note can be the one. And I want you to talk about the one. You can riff on that.
All right. Thanks, man. This is because there's so many stories.
Yeah, it's all right. Just riff on it, man.
I actually spoke to Milt about that very same thing. And what I said to Milt was, I'm having some trouble, Milt, and he said, what? And I said, this wasn't Loggins Messina sessions, but I was in LA and I was getting a lot of session stuff, and I said, people want me to be, they want me to be a metronome, and I said, I'm trying my best, and nobody's really bitching about what I do, but it's messing with me. It's messing with me. I'm thinking so much about being a metronome that I'm losing what I do. And he said, Merle, Think of it this way. A song is alive. A song has breath. He said, your time is great. And inside of a song, there's a pulse. And the pulse is what it is. You can put a metronome to it, and the quarter note will be 120 beats a minute. But when we go from the verse into the chorus, maybe the song wants to be a little excited. That doesn't mean go to the front of the beat. That means pick it up a little bit. Give it a little energy. Maybe the metronome goes to 121. Maybe it goes to 122. Maybe when you come to the bridge and into the solo, it wants to really let go. And maybe it picks up even a little more. But then when you get back to the verse, it takes a big breath and relaxes, and we get back to 120. Because you know where 120 is. Allow it to be like that. The players are going to get it. The song is going to get it. And isn't the song the most important thing of all? The song is going to tell you where it wants to go. And then he got real close to me, and as a drummer you'll understand this, and he had a smile on his face, and he said, just one thing to always remember. And I said, what's that, Milt? He said, never slow down.
That's the one thing I'm good at. I have a really good tempo. I could say that. I never slow. If you slow down, it falls apart. I want to ask you though. But this is the thing. Hold on. You had cats saying you're like, Milt, everyone wants me to play like a metronome. The whole thing was changing at that point. I assume the drum machine was coming. I mean, you're talking about mid-70s. You know, it was just a studio thing. How would Milt know that a bean counter wouldn't come in and understand what you were doing to play the song, instead of saying, no, Bregante, just play like a drum machine?
Well, I mean, a bean counter might have a degree in economics from Yale, and he landed himself a gig with Columbia Records or whatever. And that son of a bitch doesn't have the first fucking idea about music. And someone might say, well, the song picked up a little bit in tempo. And that to him is a negative. Even though the person saying that might be saying it, it's like, it's really cool.
Right, it really feels good.
So but the person that hears it, maybe that's ultimately writing the check, perhaps.
Right.
His perception, his way of interpreting that it was wrong. And some players. I mean, there were some players that were that way as well. I got blessed because I got to be friends with the people in the Wrecking Crew. I knew Tedesco. I knew Dennis Budmere. I knew Hal Blaine, and I became friends. Jimmy Gordon was the drummer for the Sunshine Company for the first 2 of the 3 records we did. That's how I met Milt Holland originally.
So you were. I just want to be clear. You were just singing on the first couple albums.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. We had. I mean.
I gotta send you. I did Dennis Budemer. We did I gotta send you that interview. You're gonna have a ball. That dude is such a badass.
Oh, badass. And Tedesco would sit in one chair, and Dennis would sit next to him, and Tedesco would play electric, and Budmere, I guess is the way you pronounce it.
Yeah, Budmere. Yeah.
And he would sit there and he would play like a 12-string acoustic, and I would just sit there and go, wow. And we were in a vocal booth singing the songs. We were great.
I love this, dude. I love this.
But that was the old days. That was when you would go into a place like United Audio, and it'd be a big sound stage, a Warner Brothers sound stage, and there'd be a 40-piece orchestra and the rhythm section. Rhythm section might be Jimmy or Hal and Carol or Joe Osborne.
Jimmy Guerin, maybe Jimmy Guerin. Yeah. No, I mean
who?
Jimmy Guerin.
Oh, Guerin, he came later.
This is so classic. I mean, what an enlightening conversation. I mean, this is I think this is let's just put a button on it here and let you. Are you around on Saturday at all? This Saturday?
I know that I'm gigging later.
Right. I have my. We could just do something. I mean, we can talk off air, but I was thinking maybe we could do something around, maybe around noon your time or 1 o'clock your time if you were up for it. Do part two.
I would be up for it, but I'm not going to commit to it right now.
Okay.
I have to see. I have to. Sometimes life gets in the way of.
Believe me,
no.
I dig. So I'll call you. Listen. I'm gonna get you a copy of this interview later, and let's shoot for Saturday. But if something comes up, then we'll do part. I'm going to Napa Valley next week to. I'm on assignment.
I'm so sorry.
But dude, Bregante, I'm coming. We're coming to hang, dude, and I'm gonna friend you later on.
About that, you know what? There's an old Joe Tex song that I paraphrase. Joe Tex's thing was money talks and bullshit walks.
Right.
My thing, action talks and bullshit walks.
Well, so that's the Jake Feinberg show right there, dude. Dude,
I'm gonna be there. Well, then come on. Come on, you are welcome. I would be honored.
Well, wait till you get hip to what I'm doing on Facebook, because these stories are going to resonate, and these are intergenerational. These are absolutely essential. This is not preservation. There's nothing to preserve. This is about promotion.
You're a young cat. You're a young guy. I mean,
well, what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to promote the ideals of how real music is made. And the only way that's going to happen is to hear about stories about leadership, about love, about overcoming adversity, and what we've been talking about primarily, which is the lineage of all musics and the culture around it. And we're just getting started. We didn't even get to any of the music today. So, we got a lot of work to do, Bregante.
Just remember this. Messina was a rehearsal monster. And the one time that the band actually mutinied against him and said, we're not going to rehearse anymore. We've just rehearsed for the last 3 fucking months. Let's go on the road. We want to play. And Jimmy said, okay. Let's just rehearse for, I think he said 3 more weeks. A little shit. We used to call him Little Caesar. And that man, I mean, if you like the music of Loggins and Messina, then you can thank Jimmy Messina for that, because he was the responsible party for all of it. He let all of us play. He didn't fuck with anybody. He said, I hired you because I don't have to think about the drums anymore. I hired Larry, the horns, like that. He said, I hired the management, I hired my accountant, I hired my lawyers. He said, now all I got to do is think about playing and writing and singing.
Well, that's the epitome of leadership, is you bring people in to do what they do best, and you don't try to tell them what to do. And that's the best thing to do. I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, on top of that, I mean, I'll send you that interview too, because he broke down the whole saga. Well, he just broke down the whole, how Clive massaged him to basically continue to work. I mean, it wasn't something that he was in it. He was in it for all the right reasons, and that run that you guys had was iconic, and I dig it, man. I mean, whatever. Merel Bregante, yeah, man, it's great to hang, man. I'll get a copy of this to you later, and make sure when you see the Jake D. Feinberg request on Facebook, you friend me, so we'll get things. We'll start to cook the groove.
Down, bro.
Love
Send
always.
it down. I'm on Facebook.
All right, I'll send it.
Love to everyone for this thing. Love you all.
Yeah, be good. We'll talk soon.
All right, man.
Peace. Wow. How could you possibly make up that? Jim Messina yesterday, the trap set drummer, the timekeeper, Merel Bregante today. And it looks like we'll be doing part 2. I'll be back on Friday with John McLaughlin, part 4. Until then, it's the Sunshine Company. Peace.
Sometimes I think about a girl back home and the 12-mile road there we used to roam. Sometimes I think about a girl named Willie Jean. Did she ever get as far as New Orleans? Sometimes I think about the people there, and I wonder if they still have their county fair. Sometimes I think about a girl named Willie Jean. Did she ever get as far as New Orleans? We used to watch a train from a grassy bank, yeah, drink hot water from a railway filling tank. Sometimes I think about a girl named Willie Jean. Did she ever get as far as